In 12.2, we're going to kind of recall the distance formula, and then we're going to move from that and use this idea of parts of a parabola called a focus, a directrix, and we're going to use those to kind of write an equation of a parabola. We're also just going to find them too. So first, let's recall the distance formula. So remember in geometry that the distance formula is derived from the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem. Now, by now, you probably have that memorized. That's your good old a squared plus b squared. Let's use equals, and we'll get c squared in there, where c is your hypotenuse. Well, if you wanted to solve for c, you need to take the square root of both sides. So then c would equal the square root of a squared plus b squared. So that's where the distance formula derived from. Well, the distance formula, plain and simple, is distance equals the square root of your x value 2 minus the first x value squared plus the second y value minus the first y value squared. Now, of course, you want to make sure that that stays under the whole root. And again, you can see directly that you got your a squared, your b squared, and then you get your c. But we're talking about distance here. So let's go ahead. We got 2 points. We call this x1. I'm going to call this x2. And we're going to call this y1. And I'm going to call -4 y2. All you have to do here is literally put it in the formula. So d equals the square root of x minus x, so 6 minus -8 squared plus -4 minus -10 squared. So let's simplify our square root here. We end up with 6 plus 8. And we've got -4 plus 10 squared, adding them together. Well, we know that this is going to be, 14? So we end up with 14 squared is 196, plus, this is going to be 6 squared, so I need 36. We're still taking the square root of the whole thing. Alright. And at this point, I'm going to move over here. We get distance equals the square root of 232. And here's where you need to figure out, hey, how does this break down? Well, lucky for you, Mr. Milliken's got your back. So root 4, 58. You get 2 square root 58. And we're only going to take the positive. Why? Well, because distance can only be positive. We're not talking about negative distance. Alright, let's review a little bit now and add in some new vocabulary. So, parabolas. A parabola is given a line, a directrix. So if you look at this diagram here, we've got our directrix. And a point not on the line, the focus. The set of all points in the plane that are equidistant from that. So here's a point, here's a point. They make a parabola. So you could keep doing that. And that is called a parabola. So you're definitely going to want to kind of know this for the test, what a parabola is. Now, the vertex. We know this as our, hey, take x over opposite of b over 2a, and then substitute to solve for y. Well, that's one way you can do it. The other way is to say, hey, the vertex is HK. This is kind of a key point to talk about. Well, when is it? When we talk about standard form. So standard form of a parabola is y equals are a x minus h squared plus k. And what are we actually taking here? We need the opposite of h, k. That gets you the vertex. Now, the key formula to know here is this formula that says a is 1 over 4 times p, where p is used to find the focus in Directrix. Or I kind of invert this around and say, hey, we need to find p a lot. So 1 over 4a. This is the formula you'll see me use more often. All right. So what exactly is the focus of a parabola? The focus is located on the line of symmetry, and it's equidistant from every point on the parabola. So it is located on line of symmetry, which is actually your x equals opposite of b over 2a, and equidistant from points on parabola. So basically that's saying, like, hey, take this point, it's equidistant from its partner over here. Again, take this point, it's equidistant from its partner on the other side. So how do you find this? This is the key thing. It is h, the vertex, where you take y and you add p to it. So that's why we need to find our p. So here, again, formula number 1, very important. Now, what is the directrix? That's a line drawn the same distance as the focus away from the parabola, and it creates a line here. So line drawn same distance as from parabola as focus, but in opposite direction. So you may guess that this formula is a little bit different. It's actually going to be a line, so we can tell, hey, here, if we're working with your standard parabola, is going to be y equals k minus p. So that's your key formula, y equals k minus p. Okay, so let's actually put this into a word problem here. Let's find focus and other things. So first thing you want to start with, let's find the vertex first. Well, hey, this is in vertex form. So vertex form, remember we've got a x minus h squared plus k. So I've got k, and I need the opposite here. So the vertex is hk, but it's the opposite of h, so -1, same k, -1/6. So I found the vertex. Next thing you want to do is identify what a is. Well, a is -1. Now use that to solve for p. Remember, p is 1 over 4a. So that equals 1 over 4 times -1, which is -1/4. So now let's find the focus. So focus, remember that's h, k plus p. Well, h is -1, so -1, we got 6 minus 1/4. So 6 minus 1/4, do some manipulating, that's going to be 5 and 3/4. So -1, and writing it as a fraction is 23/4. Alright, so I found the focus. And finally, I need to find the directrix. So directrix, and that's your y equals k minus p. So here k is 6, so y equals 6 plus 1/4 because I'm subtracting a negative 1/4. So now I've got 6 1/4, or y equals 25/4. And that's my directrix. Alright, now let's just do an example where it's not in standard form. So we actually have to solve for the vertex. So x equals the opposite of b, so 6 over 2 times 3, which is 6 over 6, which equals 1. Now plug 1 in. So y equals 3 minus 6 plus 1. 3 minus 6 plus 1, that's negative 3, negative 2. So vertex 1, negative 2. It's always good in this lesson to start labeling your things, because there's a lot that goes on in these problems. Well, what was A? A is 3. So P is 1 over 4A, which equals 1 over 4 times 3, which is 1/12. So now I need to find the focus. So take our parabola, we get 1, negative 2 plus 1/12. And that simplifies to, let's see, negative 2, so that's negative 1 and 11/12. So negative 23/12. So focus. And finally, the directrix. Y equals, take negative 2, we're going to subtract 1/12. So subtracting 1/12, that's negative 2 and 1/12. Y equals negative 25 over 12. And again, one thing that your notes will probably ask you to say is find the axis of symmetry. Well, axis of symmetry is x equals 1. Here, you're just going to take this here, x equals negative 1. So that's your axis of symmetry. It's the x value of the vertex. Alright, how about writing the equation? So if I have to write the equation given the focus, given the directrix, first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the y values and you're going to find the midpoint. Find midpoint of y values. So I'm going to take negative 2 plus 2, divide by 2. Well, that's 0 over 2, so that equals 0. That means that the midpoint, the y value, that's k. K is 0. Well, how do I know what h is? Well, this is h, k minus or plus p. So h equals 1. So the vertex is 1, 0. So again, I'm using the h given here, and I found k by taking the midpoint of the y values. Now that I have that, I need the distance between the focus and the vertex to find p. Find p using distance from focus to vertex. So distance from focus to vertex, we're going to use 1, 0 and 1, negative 2. So d equals the square root of 1 minus 1 plus 0 minus negative 2 squared. That's gone. We get the square root of 4, which equals 2. So p equals 2. So now remember, p equals 1 over 4a, because we need to find a. That's what our goal is right now, so that we can write the equation. So p is 2, so 2 equals 1 over 4a. And we get here 8a equals 1, so a equals 1/8. Now, you want to take your y equals a x minus h squared plus k and fill in the information. So we've got y equals 1/8 x minus 1 squared plus 0. And finally expand. Y equals 1/8 x squared minus 2x plus 1, and distribute. So y equals 1/8 x squared minus 1/4 x plus 1/8. And after you fully expand that, that is your final equation. Alright, so I know that's kind of a lot to do. Try to follow those notes and go ahead and try finding the vertex focus directrix. Why don't you throw an axis of symmetry there too? And then write the equation of the parabola here.